Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this Lenovo Legion 5 Pro, what was that, 16ITH6, alright. We're going to be using a GIS0 or PH0 screwdriver, and yeah, let's go ahead and remove all the screws from the bottom. Alright, so the customer said these two screws have like never existed, which is weird. I don't know what's going on with that, but anyways, let's go ahead and remove all these screws. You want to keep them in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like that on my desk in the pattern I remove them. So normally you should have 4 at the back there where the hinges are. So remove those. Alright, and then you got 2 here. These ones are longer, and then the 4 here are shorter. Again, you don't want to mix them up. I always put them in the pattern I remove them, so that way they go back exactly where I got them. Alright, but yeah, other than that, if this video helps you out, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade or repair their devices as well. And if it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Alright, if you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. But yeah, other than that, let's go ahead and continue getting all these screws out. Okay, so I actually already opened this earlier and then I cleaned the dust out real quick, so it's not going to be super dusty inside. Alright, if you open yours, it's probably going to have a lot of dust. So they were saying that the video performance was kind of slowing down. So most likely it's a thermal issue, unless it did some weird update that messed it up. Anyways, we're going to open up the screen, okay? And then what I do is I get my fingernails in this gap here, and then I use my thumbs on the palm rest, not on the touchpad. You want to make sure you don't push that, okay? And then I get there with my fingernails and I push with my thumbs. So just like this, and you can see it pops, okay? And then I work my way over to the other side and same thing. There you go. Now we're going to carefully close this up. Rotate this over here, get my fingernails back in there, push down with my thumb, and then while I'm pulling that up, I just slide my fingernail in there, and then underneath this portion, I gotta pull that up, okay, just like that. You can see I'm pushing with my thumb here and then pulling up with my fingernails. I'm gonna turn it around, do the same thing on this side, okay, same thing, pushing it down, sliding your fingernail, and then pop that up. All right, so we've got that. We're gonna now go to the back here. So this piece here separates, okay, so you can actually see a gap on the side here. When you pull that, you can see it's opening it up there, okay. If that doesn't open, you might have to just kind of try and get your way into this little groove here and then try and pry that specifically. So if you can get in there and then work your way all the way down, you can see it's popping apart, okay. You can see this is still stuck, so we're going to go up the side here and then pull on that, and there we go. Alright, so now that we got all the clips undone, we can go ahead and lift this up and flip that over. And that's what the inside looks like. Again, I did dust this off beforehand, so that's why it looks pretty clean inside. Okay, so here we're going to now get a thumbnail. Let me line that up. Okay, so there we go. I think most of the screws in here are going to be GIS0 or PH0. Let me see. Yeah, the one doesn't fit, which is interesting. Usually they switch over to JS1 or PH1 on the inside. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and remove the battery first. So the battery is right here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see closer. Okay, so the battery has multiple screws on it. Let's go ahead and remove them. Okay, again, keep all the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. Make sure to keep the pattern of screws, okay. Alright, so we got two, and then another 2 here. Okay, so it looks like we might have to actually pull the SSD out before we can even pull the battery out, which is kind of annoying. I don't know why they did that, but yeah. Okay, so there's an SSD underneath this metal plate. Let's go ahead and remove that as well. Again, keep the screws in order. Okay. And when you go to put the battery back in, make sure you put all the battery screws back in before you put this metal plate back on. Okay, so get all those screws out. We'll take this metal plate off. Okay, and there's a thermal pad here, so you do lift slowly. Don't just try and yank it up really hard. Okay, go very slowly, and then you can see it separates. So there's that. we'll set that aside. Okay, and then underneath the SSD here, so there's one screw holding the SSD in place, pops up at an angle like that, and then you can just pull this back. All right, we're gonna set the SSD aside. It's a M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD, just in case you're wondering. Okay, so we got that, and then here's the one hidden battery screw that we needed to get to, and then one more down here. Okay, now that we got all those screws out, we should be able to pull the battery out. So let's see here. Let's carefully lift from down here. I just use my fingernail to carefully get it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my finger underneath to pinch this part of the cable. Okay, so now that that finger is under there, I'm going to use this one, and I'm just sandwiching it in between, and we're just going to wiggle side to side as we slowly pull, and you can see it slowly wiggles its way out. The battery model number is here, L20C4PC1. All right, so if you need the battery, there it is. Just search for that. If you need help finding one, let me know, and I can send like an affiliate link or something. All right, usually I'll just check what's good on Amazon. All right, so we got that out. There's the battery. Usually after removing the battery, just to be safe, I'll carefully open the laptop and then press and hold the power button for at least 15 seconds, all right? You don't want to skip this step. It's only 15 seconds. Take those 15 seconds to improve your chances of not frying your computer, okay? All right, so just keep holding that. You can hold it longer if you want. It doesn't have to be exactly 15 seconds. Just hold it, and then that will drain power from the capacitors and things like that. Okay, next thing we got, there's the RAM hidden under here. You can actually remove this without removing the battery and all that other stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and get underneath and pop this up. Okay, so that goes up like that. And then what I do is I kind of like try and get my finger underneath, and then I kind of like push down to kind of teeter-totter it to help get the cover off, and that's what it looks like. Okay, there's 2 slots for RAM. We're gonna pull one out. I just pull the tabs to the side, and here we go. And this is, you can see, it's a PC4 3200AA stick of RAM, 8 gigs. You can put any PC4 3200AA stick of RAM. So if you want, you can get 2 16 gig sticks, or if they have 32 gig sticks, you can even put that. All right, you put it back in at an angle. I like to wiggle it as I'm kind of still pushing it into the slot, and then click it down. Okay, all right, obviously the other one comes out the same way, and yeah. All right, if your computer has issues powering up, you might want to double check the RAM. Sometimes that's the issue. Also, because we disconnected the battery, I don't see a CMOS BIOS battery, so most likely that's also acting as the BIOS battery. And if that's the case, then sometimes the BIOS, when it resets, it takes a very long time to start back up the computer. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right, you got the wireless card here with the antennas. To remove the antennas, you go from the tail and pop them up. I'm not going to remove them unless I have to. All right, there's another M.2 PCIe NVMe slot here. I'm going to have to remove this, not because I need to see under here, but because it's on top of the fan. So we do need to remove this. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove all these screws. And this should have a somewhat intact thermal pad that hasn't even touched anything. Oh, there's one more screw over here. So make sure you don't miss that one. I don't know if on laptops, usually I don't see them put a little thing to coat the thing. The screw that goes in here is smaller than the rest, so keep that in mind. All right, we're gonna lift this up. And it does have a thermal pad, and as you can see, they didn't put anything to protect it, so it has dust all over it, which kind of sucks. But yeah. All right, oh, here's the CMOS BIOS RTC real-time clock battery. So it does have a separate battery there. Excuse me. So the BIOS shouldn't reset, and removing the regular battery shouldn't affect the boot time. This is a CR2016 battery. All right, and they do have like some part number there, but it's super long, so I don't know. And I do have an affiliate, or what do you call? Not really sponsor. What is it? Where some company was like, oh, we sell batteries, and you can provide a referral link or something. So if you want that, let me know. I don't know if it's cheaper or not. You can shop around and check. They just gave me a link and said if you have any like kind of more rare batteries that you need, they have them. All right, so here's the USB port and this little switch for the camera on and off. It's on its own separate little board. You can actually remove this by flipping this latch up. All right, so this black tab, it flips up and then you can pull the cable out. All right, I'm gonna flip it back over. I slide my finger over to flip it over. Don't use like your fingernail or some tool to flip it over, because then you might accidentally flick that plastic off. I've had a lot of people tell me they accidentally like ripped them off. All right, there's the speaker here. It's just held in with these little rubber things, so you can actually pull it straight up, and then the wire's just routed all along here. So if you take it out, make sure to route it back properly. And then both speakers connect with that one little cable underneath the keyboard cable right there. Okay. And yeah, this is the keyboard cable. It has a latch on this side, then you can pull this out. I'm not going to take it out. This seems to be keyboard backlight cable, but it's underneath the motherboard. Okay, touchpad, trackpad cable, this small one right there, flip latch. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. We're gonna have to now disconnect the fans here. So we got one fan connector here. I'm gonna just grab with my fingernails at the little winged tips and just wiggle it side to side or up and down, whatever you want to call it. There we go. And they're disconnected. We're gonna do the same thing with the one over here. I'm not going to disconnect the CMOS BIOS battery because I don't want to reset the BIOS, but yeah, all right, and then just wiggle this. If you don't have fingernails, you can use some kind of tools like needle nose pliers or something, but I just use my fingernails because that's what works for me. All right, so the fans, they have 2 more screws holding them, but we are going to have to take the whole heatsink out, so even after we remove these screws, the fan's not going to come out. Keep that in mind. Okay, so we'll get these out. Those 2, and then we'll get out these 2. Okay. All right, so we got those all out. You can actually see the fan spins pretty well. Okay, so the fans aren't bad. It did have some dust in there, so hopefully once we take this out, we'll be able to see if dust is the cause. I didn't really go over the other components in here. They're all pretty much soldered to the motherboard. You can actually see the Ethernet port, USB-C, the USBs, HDMI, and what's that, the charge port. They're all soldered to the motherboard. And there's a Lenovo kind of tamper sticker here and some screws holding down the charge port. So hopefully we don't have to take all of that out to get the heatsink out. All right. You can see these are numbered. And let me see, am I still using this? Does this whole laptop just use the 0? Actually, okay, I'm gonna use the PH1 or JS1 for these. And they number these, all right? These numbers are actually more for when you remove it. I mean, when you install it, not when you remove it. And you don't unscrew them all the way. So I'm just loosely unscrewing them first, okay? There's the 4th one here. And the reason why I'm just doing it a little bit is because the other ones are all pressing it down, and you don't want to try and lift the whole thing up right away, because then one side is going to be pulling up and then the rest is secured down, and then that can damage something. So I don't know if you can see the numbers. I'm unscrewing them by number. 1 here, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, you can actually hear the screws click. Sometimes they don't, like this one's not clicking, but there we go. And then I'm slightly pulling up as I'm unscrewing it, and then you can see it's actually released. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so we're gonna carefully, slowly lift this. You don't want to just try and yank it up because you don't want to bend the heat pipes. Okay, so I'm just carefully lifting slowly. If it's stuck, you might have to sometimes kind of twist it a little. Okay, let me zoom out a bit more. Yeah, you might have to sometimes twist it a bit, and it helps to kind of use these more solid metal square parts. Right, we're going to carefully lift this up. You want to be careful because these heat pipes are kind of fragile. So we're just slowly lifting, and there we go. Okay, it looks like some of the thermal pad ripped on this one. So we are going to have to try and transfer that back over if we can. I'm just going to use this thin little plastic tool here, try and just scrape it up. Okay, and then we're gonna stick that back over there. Okay. There we go. We got the thermal pad back in place. All right, we're gonna now set this aside. We're gonna have to clean this off. Usually what I'll do is I'll use this first to kind of scrape up the stuff. And yeah, I can tell, you see this? It's pretty solid. Normally if the paste is still good, it's very soft and pasty. This is more like crumbly. So if you see your paste is crumbling when you try and scrape it up, then that definitely means that you need to redo the paste. Yeah, that's pretty bad. So this thing must have gotten really hot, and we're gonna have to apply some new paste for sure. Okay, try not to dump this stuff all over the thermal pad, so I'm trying to push it all in towards the center. Usually I'll hold this upside down over a trash can and then just scrape it so it all falls into there. So I'm gonna do that real quick and I'll be back. See you guys in a bit. Alright, so I kind of got as much as I could by scraping it. We're gonna have to soak this with isopropyl alcohol. Let's actually also clean up this. So this side you want to be careful because the GPU has like these little resistors or something all on this little chip. So when you clean that up, you want to be extra careful. But we're going to do the same thing, basically just scrape this stuff off. Again, I'm going to actually just scrape it off over a trash can so that way it's easier. After you scrape off most of what you can, it helps also, you can use like a toothbrush to kind of clean it up. All right, but again, be careful because this has all those little resistors and stuff on top. You don't want to accidentally scrape them off. Okay, so you want to be very careful and try and avoid scraping that section. Okay, if there's some that you can't get out, it's okay, just leave it there. Okay, you don't have to get it completely off, but I like to try and get as much as I can out as possible. They kind of overdid the thermal paste and it like flooded out, which is not too good. All right, so let's go ahead and do the CPU as well. You can see the CPU, they way over flooded it. It even went out on top of here somehow. Okay, so yeah, so you basically gotta scrape all this stuff off, mainly off the die, but I like to get all of it off if I can. And yeah, okay, so I'll continue doing this off camera and then I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, I'm back. So after kind of looking close up, I'm wondering if some resistors, let me see if I can get that. Come on, focus. It looks like 3 of them are missing here. I don't know if you can see that. It's very small. Yeah, you see that? Okay. See? It looks like 3 of them are missing. Those 3 right there. That one, that one, that one. It looks like it's missing some resistors there. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it was like that. I guess I can rewatch my video and see. Maybe they weren't soldered well and they fell off. I don't know. All right, but we're gonna clean this stuff up now. We're gonna use some isopropyl alcohol and paper towel to clean it up. I just get a paper towel and just kind of fold it up, and then isopropyl alcohol, just kind of put some on there. If you want, you can put it directly on the paper towel instead, and we're just gonna kind of clean that. The main thing to clean is the die. You don't need to worry so much about the area with the resistors, but if you want, you can kind of clean that as well, but that you'd have to use like a toothbrush because paper towel and stuff's gonna get all stuck to it. So you can kind of like brush it around there, okay, to help kind of clean it off. But you're not gonna get that very perfect, okay? There you go, kind of clean up most of it. Get a little more isopropyl alcohol on the paper towel, and then we're just gonna clean the CPU or GPU die. Sorry, this is the GPU. And no, you can't upgrade the GPU, it's soldered to the motherboard. Okay, there's that. I'll put a little more and clean it more. Alright, then I'm going to use this to kind of just blow off any lint. Now we're going to repeat for the CPU here. The CPU also has a bunch of gunk on it. The CPU is easier, there's no resistor sticking up, just kind of wipe it around. Try and get all that stuff off. Okay. A little more isopropyl alcohol. Dry it up. All right, and there we go. And just blow all that dust away. There's a little thing stuck there. I'm gonna have to use more paper towel to clean it again because there was a little thing stuck there. Okay. There we go. Blow the dust away. All right, so now we got to reapply thermal paste. So the thermal paste, you actually don't need very much. It spreads super thin. So when you apply it, it might look like you're not putting much, but actually it will spread pretty thin, okay? So we're gonna put this, and we basically put kind of like a grain of rice, okay? Even that might actually be quite a bit. And I like to kind of even it out in the middle here. And the reason I do it this way is because when you put the heatsink on top, it smushes it super flat and it pushes all the air bubbles out, okay? So it pushes it all to the outer edges, and then that way you don't end up trapping air bubbles in the middle. Although anywhere that's touching will kind of help spread the heat into the heatsink. So if there are like super small bubbles, it's not really that big of a deal. But I like to do it this way just because it ensures less bubbles. The only thing with this is if you don't know how to put like the right amount, if you put like way too little or something, or put way too much and it just overflows everywhere, then you can also end up with kind of some issues. All right, so go. Got the old paste stuck on my finger a little bit. Clean that off. Okay. So this one is a bit more of a square, not quite exactly a square, but basically just put like a little ball in the center. Okay, and try and just center it as much as you can. Obviously it won't be perfect, but close as possible. There we go. All right, let's zoom back out and let's get the heatsink back on. Okay, so there we go. We'll line this back up. Hopefully you can see how I did the paste. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead now and put the heatsink back on. Oh, no we're not. We do need to clean that first. All right. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention, underneath the heatsink, you have the LCD LVDS connector. There's the flip latch for it here, the black one, you flip it up, and that goes into the screen, okay? Also, the wireless antennas, you can see one antenna is actually attached right here, okay? And then you got the gray wire. The black antenna is attached right here, and then you got the wire going there. So if you break the wireless antennas, it's going to be a pain. You have to unstick it from this and peel it up and transfer it over. Most likely you'd end up replacing the whole keyboard assembly, and it will have it already attached. I don't know if you'll be able to find a bare antenna on its own. Okay. So like I was saying, we do have to clean up the heatsink as well. So let me actually zoom in here. Okay, for this, we're basically just gonna put isopropyl alcohol on it, let it sit for a while to kind of dissolve it, and then we're gonna clean it off, okay? You can put some on the plastic area as well if you want. And we just gotta let it kind of sit. It's gonna take a while to clean it up. All right, don't use anything crazy like acetone because it will dissolve that black plastic area, okay? And let's go ahead and just try and clean it. Okay, you can see we're starting to see the copper. And if you want, you can just keep repeating the process until you feel it's sufficiently cleaned. Alright, there you go. Look at all that paste. We're going to do the same over here. And be careful also not to press down too hard. You don't want to bend the heat pipes trying to clean this stuff off. Okay. Wow, this stuff is stuck there real good. Just keep rubbing at it. Okay, we're going to have to switch to a clean paper towel or a clean side, so you can kind of just fold the thing inwards. Then you still have all that isopropyl alcohol on there. Wow, that stuff is really stuck on there. you want to make sure to get all this out so it's not like pushing up against the die and preventing it from spreading the new paste. And also this stuff probably isn't doing a very good job with the thermal transfer anymore. So yeah, we're gonna put some more isopropyl alcohol and then wait again. And if you're wondering, this is this bottle I actually got from like a ink refill thing. You don't have to use specifically one like this. Any kind of little syringe thing will work. Okay, we'll let it dissolve a bit more. Get some more paper towel. All right, and then let's try and clean it off again. Wow, that stuff is really stuck on there. Yeah, that's really stuck on there. Let me try and use this again. Try and scrape it up more. Like even this thing, it doesn't scrape it off. But I'm gonna try with isopropyl alcohol there, so that way it dissolves as I'm scraping at it. Might make it a little bit easier. Okay, there we go. It's coming out. Try and get as much of it out as you can. Okay, same thing with the other side. This tool's gonna be all dull now. Wow, this thing is, that stuff is really stuck on there. Okay, that's probably about as good as we're gonna get it. Let's go ahead now and wipe this up. Okay, look at all of that. I hope I'm getting a bunch of calls. I hope it's not another customer waiting. They're gonna be like, where are you? Why aren't you answering? But okay, let's go ahead and put some more isopropyl alcohol here and here. Let's continue wiping. Alright, that's probably about as good as we're gonna get it. Jeez, this stuff is really hard to get off. Let's use one more clean paper towel and do it one more time just to be safe. Okay. Okay, you can see it's a lot cleaner now, so I think we should be good. Let's try this thing up. Oh, one other thing. Let's go ahead and open up the fans if we can, because it does seem to have, I don't know if you can see that, there's a lot of dust in there. So let's go ahead and open that up. Let's see. Okay, these pads won't touch if I just put this down, so we're going to put it down like this. We're going to be using the GIS 0, or you might have to use a 00, but let's see. All right, we'll try and remove that. Yeah, we're going to have to use a smaller one, so let's switch over to the, this is actually a PH 000, and let's go ahead and remove those screws. One screw there. Should I zoom out a bit more? One screw here. Screw here, 3, one more here, 4, and one more up here, 5. Hopefully after that we can pull the fan out. Okay, let's let's see here. So you can see we can kind of separate it. There's some adhesive holding it, so we are going to have to kind of get underneath this and peel that up. Let's see here. I have to use a thinner tool for this. I'm going to use a thinner tool here. Put this down real quick and get a thinner tool. Okay, have this little kind of metal toothpicky thing. So let's see if we can get it up with that. Yep. We'll get underneath there and peel up the adhesive. Okay, and let's see. Okay, now we can flip this over. Wow, look at that. That was in the fan. Okay, that's insane. Look at that. Wonder why. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and brush this out. Good thing we opened it, because otherwise we would have done all of that. It would run a little bit cooler and then it would have started clogging up again pretty soon after. So we'll get all that out. If you want to prevent this kind of stuff, you basically have to get like a vacuum or blower to blow the dust out, probably at least once a month. It really depends on your environment, how dusty it is and stuff. If you have pets and things like that, you might have to do it more often. But yeah, all right, so we'll do that. Flip this back over. Okay, and then we're gonna check the other side as well, obviously. So let's go ahead and get these screws back in. Two. Again, I like to always keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. Some of these small ones, it can just be barely different, and that's enough to end up stripping the screw, I don't know what you call it, the threads below. Okay, so it's always a good idea to kind of try and put everything back the same way. Okay, I also like to twist the screw backwards to feel it fall into place. Okay, here's the tape that we kind of peeled up earlier. I don't know if it will stick back down. Okay, but there we go. All right, let's do the other side. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of dust in this one as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, let's peel this up as well. Same thing as the little tape there. So we're gonna try and peel that away. Oh, I can already see a bunch of dust coming out from under there. Okay, peel that out. Okay. All right, and hopefully it will just fall down now. There we go, and wow, look at that. That's after I already tried blowing the dust out, so wow, you see that? Now we have from both fans. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna actually take this outside to brush it off because it's hard to get all this dust out and I don't want it all over my desk. So let me do that real quick and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So you can see this is all clean now. So we're gonna flip this back over, okay? Just like that. Make sure it lines up. You can push that tape back in place. Drop that down, and then let's get these screws back on. Yeah, that was a crazy amount of like dust lint buildup, so I want to make sure. Why isn't this going in? Come on, there we go. That was a lot of dust built up in there. Alright, last two for this. And here. we go. And now let's go ahead and put this thing back together. Again, make sure you switch back to the right screwdriver. I'm going to switch back to the PH1 to tighten down the heat sinks. Okay, let's grab the computer. Make sure there's no dust on it. Okay, so we're going to just put this back. And obviously, you just line it up and drop it back into place. Carefully, slowly drop it into place here. Okay, and then, like I said before, we're going to only screw it in slowly, a little at a time. I'm going to zoom back into just the heatsink part that we're tightening. All right, and I'll start with one. I like to twist it backwards to hear it click. You hear it clicking. Okay, once it clicks, 1, 2, 3. Okay, second one, click, 1, 2, 3. Third one, click, 1, 2, 3. Fourth one, click, 1, 2, 3. Fifth one, click, 1, 2, 3. Sixth one, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me go back here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we can tighten it all the way now that it's all the way down. Tighten all of these all the way down. Third, fourth one, fifth one, and sixth one. All right, these have springs built in that constantly keep applying pressure until it's super flat and snug. So yeah, all right, let's go ahead and put the fan screws. So we had the longer silver one towards the back here. Get that all the way in. And then the kind of darker colored one, shorter, we're gonna have to switch back, but let's put the silver one over here as well because this one uses the PH1 or JS1 screwdriver. All right, now we'll put that away, switch back over to the PH0 or JS0. All right, and let's get the darker screws. So that one's here. We can also go ahead and put the connector back in for the fan. Okay, so if you're replacing the fan, make sure you have the cable facing the right way. You can see this connector has like the exposed metal pins on part of the plastic. That's what you want to face up. On the original one, they actually draw a marker on it so you know which way. And we'll just pinch the two together. Okay, so just like this. And there we go. You should feel it kind of click in. All right, we'll go back to the other fan here. We didn't put that screw in yet. Put that screw in. All right, same thing with the fan. You want the exposed metal pin one faced up, not the solid plastic, all right? So get that, line it up, and then just pinch the two pieces together. Again, you feel it click. All right, so there we go. Let's go ahead now and get the little SSD hard drive covers back in place. So there's like an M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD slot cover thing. So we'll get that back lined up. There's a raised peg there, line that up, and then drop the rest in. Oh, this one was going under. Make sure this is lined up. This somehow got itself out of its spot, so make sure this is back in. What is happening here? Oh, okay. Make sure the camera thing is lined up right to do it. For some reason it went out of line and came out. So there we go. Get this back in. Yeah, if you don't know and you try and force this down on top of this switch, you can actually break the camera on-off switch. So be very careful. All right, I'm gonna loosely fit this screw first. We're not tightening it all the way down yet because this metal plate has some play to it. All right, I'm gonna loosely fit that. And I wanna make sure all 4 screws go in before we tighten it down. That way we don't have to worry if it moved around, okay? Then we can go ahead and tighten down the screws. Just hold that metal plate in place. Okay. All right. And the battery actually has to go in before we put in the other SSD because, like I showed earlier, the screws are hidden underneath. So let's grab the battery. And we'll get this back in. Line that up. Make sure the lines that are sticking up are facing up. If you get a new battery that's not flipped upside down, Although I don't think it's possible to flip this one upside down just because the way they have all the cables flat here. But you can also tell because the red wires are going towards the RAM and the black wires are going towards the outside of the laptop. Okay, line this all up and then pinch this together. There we go. Get that all lined up, and let's go ahead and put the battery screws back in first. There are 6 battery screws. Make sure you get them all back in. So much dust flying around here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Most of the screws on the inside are about the same size, except for this one here. But it's always a good idea, again, like I said, to put the same screw back where you got it. So hopefully if you kept them all in the pattern that you removed them, then you'll be able to do that. But if for some reason you accidentally mix them all together, just keep that in mind. All right, we got the battery back in. Now let's get the SSD. So SSD, you just line it back in the slot at an angle, push it in. All right, once it's in, you just lower it down. There's a raised portion of this screw mount, so make sure that the raised portion goes inside this little circle so that it's not resting on top of it, because if the SSD is resting on top of that and you screw it down, you'll end up smashing that and cracking it. Okay, there we go. Now we got the metal plate. We'll put that back on top. Again, this has a little hole with a raised plastic mount to hold it in place. Okay, so get that lined up. This one, because it's sticking to the SSD, you want to try and make sure the screw mounts are lined up, and then you can kind of push it down in place. All right, and let's get these screws back in. We're almost done. Second one here. And the last screw here. There we go. Now we just got to get the bottom cover and we're good to go. So zoom out a bit more. Line this up. Oops. It was actually zoomed to the right amount earlier. Okay. We get that lined up. All right, we'll get the bottom cover back on. Just line it up. Make sure everything's good, and then click it all down. Work your way all the way around. Make sure you get the center as well. And we'll just get all these screws back in, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Again, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Again, if you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much all there is to it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Obviously, you're welcome to stay as I get the rest of these screws back in. And then I'll power it on, because a lot of people are like, did it work though? Did it work? If it didn't work, then it's not, that doesn't mean it's not going to work for your computer, okay? But yeah, because there's basically a disassembly video. I actually should have tried turning on their computer and testing it before working on it, because sometimes people bring in like a already broken device and then they'll try and say that you broke it trying to do something. So it's always a good idea to make sure powered up and check that beforehand, just in case. I'm gonna flip this over. They didn't give me the charger, so hopefully it's charged. Let's open this and powered up. I see the power light, so that's a good sign. And I see Legion, so we should be good to go. And I'm gonna restart it one time. Usually anytime I do any major repairs or anything, I'd like to do a restart just in case. So I'm gonna go on the bottom here, and instead of shut down, I don't know if you can see because it's really dim, their screen right now. I don't know if they, oh, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna restart and then we should be good to go. All right, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one. All right, let's drop this. Bye.